Hello everyone and welcome back to Newegg TV. I'm Steve. Today I'm going to do a couple product overviews on these devices. This is the Amped Wireless RTA15 wireless router as well as the AC1 wireless USB adapter. So I want to start first with the Wi-Fi USB adapter just because the main event should be last, right? First and foremost, I do want to mention also that this particular device is USB 3.0 and that it also works with a Mac or Windows operating system. So let me go ahead and open up the box and take a look inside for you guys. Okay, some of the paperwork's falling out here. Let's go through that first. Okay, first things first, they do want you to stop if you have any problems with this particular device and call them directly if you need help for their support. Once again, they do have free US-based technical support. So when you call this particular number, you are reaching somewhere in the US to get help with whatever seems to be ailing you with this product, before you return it, of course. Next, you do get the setup CD itself. Now that's of course going to give you the software that you need in order to set up this device first thing right out of the box. And on top of that, looks like we also have a setup guide. Now, there's not really much to the setup guide. I mean, essentially the setup itself is just you pop the CD in, plug everything in, and then get it connected to said wireless. But you know, this is just to let you know this is the kind of help you will get just right out of the box. A nice, colorful manual to help you. Now, let's talk about the actual wireless device itself. As I mentioned before, it does come with USB 3.0, so that particular cable is also provided, which I'll show you here now. A little micro USB 3.0 connector here, and here's where that would actually connect into the back of the device itself. Now, this is AC1200 capable in terms of connection speed. I'll show you that there. Here's where the two high gain antennas would be attached, and let me just go ahead and attach those really quickly. And as you can see, they are adjustable in both directions. So if you needed to move them just to get the right angle for whatever your usage scenario is. I want to mention too that this particular device does come with a monitor clip, so this could actually be attached right to the back here, and you can attach it right to the back of your monitor, set up the antennas whichever way you need to in order to give you just some space, and also lift it up a little bit higher off the ground and give you probably some better transmission and reception frequency, or transmission and reception of this particular device. Now I will flip it around just at the very top here so you can see the WPS button, so that you know, if you are using WPS to connect your devices, this is a quick and easy way to do that. It is the wireless protected setup. As soon as you push that button and you push the same button on the wireless router itself, will allow you to connect to it directly. I did want to mention at the top here, this is an LED light, and that's for activity. So when it is connected to the wireless router, that's going to light up for you as well as when it's transmitting. Want to mention too, as of course I mentioned, it is 802.11 AC, but that also means it's backwards compatible to 802.11a, b, g, and n. This does have 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz frequency band capabilities, as well as the wireless speeds. On the 2.4 side, you're looking at 300 megabits per second. On the 5 gigahertz side, you're looking at 867 megabits per second, leading you to the AC1200. Now, the wireless output of this particular device, you're looking at 28 decibel milliwatts, and that's its maximum. Wireless security, it's capable of WEP, WPA, WPA2. The amplifiers, now this particular device, because it's their high power series, they are constantly pushing the fact that they have amplifiers inside, pushing the radios to get it further distance and better throughput. That being said, we're looking at two 2.4 gigahertz amplifiers and two 5 gigahertz amplifiers, as well as 4 low noise amplifiers. The antennas, as I mentioned before, are both high gain. They're 5 decibel antennas, and they are using the RG SMA antenna connectors. And that is going to have a 1-year warranty. Now we move ourselves up to the RTA15 wireless router. So here's the box itself. Not really much to speak of here. I do want to mention that, of course, you do get that elite support we mentioned before. Same exact support, same exact company. And that is based in the US, so if you need some help, you'll be able to call them directly. Let me go ahead and open up the box. nice and taped plastic there, always helpful. Here's that number to call for the support if you ended up having any need for their assistance. And I'm just going to go ahead and flip us to the next thing, which is the setup guide, which itself is also pictorial and colored. So you can go through this if you needed to have any kind of help getting this set up. All right. And they do want to mention the fact that they are providing a Wi-Fi analytics tool that you can use for both Android, Windows based devices. So we might be able to get into that a little bit if I can snag an Android device from someone. And we have the setup CD as well, and you also have some documentation inside. If you end up not having this particular manual, that would be kind of easy just to jump onto with a PDF file so you can search for exactly what you're looking for. Let's go inside the box itself, and it's strange I actually have everything already connected in the back, because I definitely didn't do that, and this was a sealed box. So, boring stuff first. It does come with an AC adapter, of course. That's to provide power for this device. Now, imagining this is some kind of a wall stand or some kind of just a stand in general, but we'll go over that. 3 high gain antennas, which I'll connect for you here in just a moment. Of course, you get two different Ethernet cables here, and of course they're actually giving you labels to tell you specifically which one's for which. Of course, if you switched them up, it wouldn't really matter. It's the same kind of cable on both ends anyways. These are probably Cat 5, yeah, Cat 5e actually. So both Cat 5 enhanced cables. And here's the actual device. So the router itself, glossy black. Let me take the plastic off so you can actually see it, so I can get some nice fingerprints all over it as well. Looks like you have several LEDs across the top here. First being, looks like power, and then of course the 5 gigahertz range wireless connection, 2.4 gigahertz. Looks like the, actually I'm not sure what that is, we'll go back to that one. As well as, nope, that must be the WAN. So this is probably the WAN because these are the 4 different LAN ports themselves. This is all gigabit, of course. And it looks like here a USB connector, so that when you're connecting in a USB flash drive or USB hard drive, or probably a printer as well, I'll have to double check that, you'll be able to share all those things through the USB port right here in the back. So flipping to the back, here are the 3 different ports that we have that can allow us to connect our antennas. I'll screw those in just a moment. WPS button, so this way you can click this as well as the other button on the other antenna. As soon as you tap that, the Wi-Fi protected setup will kick in, and both devices, after the button is clicked, will find their own secure connection. Probably a pin might be involved at some point if you needed to, and then it would be connected to your wireless network with no fuss or fuss. Reset button in case you ever need to reset this router back to 0, and the defaults would enable it, you to get access back again to this device. Of course, that USB port that I mentioned before, this is the WAN port, as well as the 4 gigabit ports. And that's for your LAN, of course, and the power AC adapter would connect in here. Let's see what's on the bottom. Looks like mainly just a little bit of area for some breathing room for this thing to get some of that heat out. Also rubber stoppers here, so you get a little bit of a non-stick on the front of it. Let's see what's there. Oh, actually nothing at all, just more of the ventilation. So give me a moment, let me put this thing together for you guys. Okay, so I've attached the antennas and I hooked up the clip on the back that actually would hold the stand itself. So that being said, this is what it would look like if it was sitting on your desk. Let me go ahead and move this to the back so you can actually see it. Here's a profile shot, and the wires actually are intended to be routed through here just so that it has some kind of wire management. And this, of course, is the stand, and it would slide right into the 2 holes that you would normally use for wall mounting, and then just clicks up into place, and therefore you can run the wires through here. Now, I did notice something when I was wiring in the or screwing in the antennas here, the fact that they actually label each antenna and which bands they control. Now, each antenna should be exactly the same, actually. I'm not really sure, other than for the possibility of helping you via the phone customer service. It'd be much easier if I were to tell you, okay, so there's 5 gigahertz problem not getting connected, so it's one of these 2 antennas that could be the problem, other than other troubleshooting steps. It's pretty much the only thing I can think of. But as you can see here, the one actually you probably can't see it, but the 1 here is labeled matching up with the 5 gigahertz antenna, as well as 2 matching up with the dual band 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, and the final one on the far right, that's the 2.4 gigahertz antenna. So internally we do have a 660 megahertz processor, so that's going to basically help us with our throughput of this device, as well as probably some of the interaction that you would see on the web interface, helping that to refresh faster and allow us to control this a little bit easier. Anyways, wireless standard, we are looking at 802.11ac. Now it does mean that it's backwards compatible to A, B, G, and N. Frequency, we are talking about 2.4 and 5 gigahertz and simultaneous, as I've already mentioned. Amplifiers, now this is their high-powered series, so they're really trying to push the fact that they're using a 2-stage amplification of the signal. Now, that being said, it is 2.4 gigahertz amplifiers being used and 2 5 gigahertz amplifiers, the 2-stage, as well as four low noise amplifiers. Wireless security, you're looking at WEP, WPA, WPA2, WPA mixed, and WPS. You can control the power output of this device anywhere between 15 to 100% and adjust them individually for 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Why is that important? Basically, if you wanted to keep the coverage within your home and you don't need it to expand past the walls of your household, you just don't want anybody else to have connection to your wireless network, and you don't want to set up any kind of security at all or any kind of passwords, that's one way of handling it. Although that's not the most secure and I don't recommend it, but it's just another thing to imagine. Also, if you have any kind of connection issues with other wireless devices in the house, sometimes lowering the output of this device could help with that. That being said, some more features. This actually has support for up to 8 additional guest wireless networks. We might take a look at that a little bit later when I look at the web interface. I just want to show you guys what it looks like and see a couple of these features that I mentioned. It also supports wireless multimedia. It has a smart firewall in it that has SPI and NAT capability. Parental controls, you can also block websites. User access control, you can use MAC or IP filtering. Quality of service, that's QoS, and IPv6 support. Once again, this device, just like the USB adapter, has a 1-year warranty. So here we have the router all set up, plugged in, powered up. I've got all the wire management done. So let's just take a quick look at the web interface, just so you guys have an idea of what you're getting into. So here we are logged in at the dashboard. I haven't changed the passwords or anything else, so this is all still default. Of course, you could click here to do some basic setup. It'll walk you through it and basically help you get everything set up so you get your wireless passwords and everything else. I just want to show you here the different Wi-Fi settings you can use for the 5 gigahertz side, for instance. You can disable it and set the SSID and the channel width and whatnot. I'm just going to kind of whip through here so you guys can get a look of everything that's basically offered, and you can pause it at any given time if you wanted to take a closer look at any one of these. Here's the wireless coverage. Initially I had this turned down to 15%, and that's just because it was interfering a little bit with our mics here in the office. So in fact, I did change it on the 2.4, as you can see here, but I didn't actually change it on the 5, so that probably explains why there's a small amount of it still there. The access schedule, of course, you could set this up and you know, whatever you want people to have connection via this 2.4 side or on the 5 gigahertz side. So if you know all of your kids have 2.4 gigahertz connectable devices, then you could just limit that, or if you want to limit both of them, you could do so. Once again, network connections and the rest of the setup here. I'm just going to kind of go through this really quickly. In the smart features, looks like you can actually block the websites. I mentioned that before. Also, user access, you could deny MAC addresses, or I think you could allow, yep, you can allow them as well. IP address filtering, same thing, including IPv4 or IPv6. Usage of that USB device. Now, I did mention about storage being shareable, and it looks like it isn't going to be able to use a printer, but that's okay because you could still use it for your storage devices and set up an FTP server that could be accessed from outside this particular device, especially if you end up using something like DYDNS to get a DNS name to log into. That way you don't have to know your WAN side IP address. Port filtering, port forwarding, setting up a DMZ, the virtual LAN, and denial of service protection. Prevention is what they call it here. Quality of service, so that you can set that up and what particular IP addresses and the bandwidth you want to set up for those. Your router setup, whether or not you're using multiple routers, you can use RIP1, RIP2 here, allow those two routers to communicate to one another. More management setup here, system information, network statistics for this device and what packets have been sent and received. Dynamic DNS, that's what I mentioned before, so this way you could get set up with a login from DYDNS and essentially allow yourself to just type in one word, you know, like steve.dynDNS.org, and that's how you get connected to your setup. Depends on how you do it. System clock, as you can see here. Pretty standard stuff here. System logs and enabling them, as well as setting up a log server with the IP address there. Updating the firmware here. You can save and reload your settings so you can go back to a particular setup as before, as well as setting up a new password. I did want to mention too that there was guest access here somewhere. Let's see if I can find that. Oh, there's guest networks. Yeah, it looks like you can set up 4 different ones. I know there was 8 initially. That must be counting the first 2 plus these 4. So enabling this. Yeah, B, strictly G, B and G, G and N, or BG and N. Okay everyone, that wraps up this overview of the RTA15 wireless router and the AC-A1 wireless USB adapter, both from Amped Wireless. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to click the like button. If you haven't already done so, click subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.